Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just got a special treat. We got the opportunity to watch a Thursday night football game on Monday. Did not think that was a thing, but nonetheless, yes, the Bears and the Vikings played. Let's go ahead and let's talk about what happened in this game and on Sunday that will be changing fantasy football rankings and values. Now, going through and looking at the Minnesota Vikings side of things, Joshua Dobbs completely falls apart, right? Joshua Dobbs, 4 interceptions. So really anything else that we are going to be looking at here is just complete crap. Now, y'all know we said to take the more than 6.5 targets for Jordan Addison on Underdog Fantasy. He got to 10, so we are really happy about that. Now, outside of Jordan Addison seeing his 10 targets, really doesn't do much with them. He gets you about 10 fantasy points if you're playing in a full PPR format. Hawkinson continues to dominate, even with this being a very bad offense. I mean, ultimately, if your quarterback has 4 interceptions, nobody's really going to be viable, right? I mean, you just don't score enough. Now, what is interesting is the running back usage here. You still have like Ty Chandler with a roll, which is a little frustrating. Chandler has 2 targets out of the backfield. Madison has 2 as well. Chandler has a couple carries. I mean, in reality, if you have Alexander Madison as a running back that is sharing this backfield with Ty, the offense is too bad where you can't start either running back. The only playable options will be TJ Hawkinson, and Jefferson should be back after the bye. So then we're going to go ahead and we'll play Jefferson as well. But once Jefferson's back, the volume will come down for Addison. And this is going to be a bad enough offense where we can say you can't really start the secondary option, right? Now, going over to Chicago, the team that wins the game and the team that has people pissed at me for saying that Justin Fields is not good. I mean, I'm going to have to ask y'all this in the live chat because, I mean, Twitter is absurd. But nonetheless, if you are looking at this, Justin Fields, 37 pass attempts and 217 passing yards. 0 passing touchdowns. The Bears score 0 touchdowns overall. So, I mean, really, the only guy that's viable in this offense at the moment is going to be DJ Moore. You would think 37 passing attempts, you would have some secondary options, and I guess we can rank Cole Kmet as that low-end tight end 1 from week-to-week perspective, right? But ultimately, I mean, really, this is just a muddied mess. Fields has rushing upside, so you start Justin Fields. I mean, if you're playing in a 4-point passing touchdown league, 6-point passing touchdown league, you don't. DJ Moore continues to dominate target volume. DJ Moore, 13 targets here. I mean, DJ Moore looks like the alpha. DJ Moore looks like that legit guy. Then if you're looking at the backfield split, I'd love to say, oh, hook 'em horns, Roschon Johnson's taking over. We love our guy. But ultimately, we'll have Deonta Foreman coming back after the bye. So if you have Foreman back in, it's probably going to be a 3-man running back by committee. So I don't know. I am not super excited about any running back. I would say you start DJ Moore every single week, regardless. I mean, DJ Moore is just phenomenal. And then Cole Kmet is viable as a low-end tight end 1. I mean, but these are very bad offenses. And I have to ask all this, because everybody on Twitter is losing their freaking minds that I'm saying that Justin Fields should not be the Chicago Bears quarterback in 2024 when back-to-back years they will have the number 1 overall pick here. Let me know. I just want to know. I can see on Twitter, everybody thinks that Justin Fields should start next year. Please let me know in the live chat. Should the Bears pass on a quarterback at 1? And should they start Justin Fields next season? Just simply yes or no. Should Justin Fields start next year? Because on Twitter, everybody's going, oh, it's the offensive line. Oh, no, it's the play calling. Oh, no, it's the millionth excuse. God knows what it is. I mean, at this point, he's 6-26 as a starter. They win the game. They win the game without a touchdown, and you have 4 interceptions from Joshua Dobbs. He's better this year than he was last year, but last year he was arguably the worst starting quarterback we've seen over the past decade throwing the football. Obviously, what he can do as a rusher, completely different story and phenomenal in fantasy for that reason. But let's see what people are saying on YouTube, because I got the sense that everybody on Twitter is ready to keep him. So know that he should not be the starter. Yes, yes, no, yes. They cannot pass up on Caleb. No. Draft a quarterback. No. Yes. Start Fields. So it looks like people are pumped. And I really don't get what it is. I mean, I don't know if he's the Ohio State quarterback. I don't know if he's exciting. Obviously, if you're playing Madden, I mean, you like going through and playing the guy that can run around and super athletic. It's just like I don't know. I don't want to turn this into that. We're here to talk about fantasy football. We are here to talk about fantasy football. But let's go ahead and let's dive into some of these questions. We are 1 like away from hitting 100 likes on the stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and that Dak Prescott special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. Y'all know our favorite pick'em for tonight was Addison for more than 6.5 targets. He did end up hitting that. My favorite pick'em for this week is going to be DeAndre Hopkins for fewer than 57.5 receiving yards based off what we have with the trending usage. And honestly, that line's probably coming down soon, so I'd jump on that while you can. Now let's go ahead and let's dive into our first question. Cheeky Hobson says, love the trade calculator. What is next? Thank you so much, my friend. So with the trade calculator, the next step that we have is we are going to be implementing, I believe I met with the developers this morning, and on flockfantasy.com, we're turning this best fantasy football site you're going to find. We hired 2 full stack developers, and yeah, so just give me a little bit of time. It's going to be incredible, my friend. But yeah, by tomorrow or the next day, draft pick should be tradable for Dynasty with the trade calculator. And then outside of that, we are working on linking with Sleeper where you're able to directly upload your team to flockfantasy.com and build a bunch of tools around that, which hopefully will be this week. We also have a bunch of back-end stuff we're working on. But Corey coming out saying 10 TBBR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. We have Hurts, Gibbs, Charbonnet, Tyreek, A.J. Brown, K. Dotton. We lost Andrews. Dell, and then on the bench, Sanders, Kenneth Spears, Kyler, Rice, Douglas, Downs. Should we trade Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, Kyler Murray, Rashee Rice for Bijan, Joshua Dobbs, and Alexander Madison? 11-1. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congrats on being 11-1. My friend, always happy to see you. And here, I mean, if you're going from Kyler Murray to Joshua Dobbs, obviously it's a downgrade. It doesn't matter, though. We have Jalen Hurts. If we are moving from the Seattle running backs over to Bijan Robinson, it is an upgrade. If we're going from Rashee Rice to Alexander Madison, it is a downgrade. I would say that this is probably a deal that's not super one-sided where, oh yeah, let's go ahead and let's take Bijan. It's not even close. But I probably would go with the Bijan side, considering the fact this is a playoff team. Bijan has the best fantasy football playoff schedule of any running back in the NFL. So I do want to reiterate, probably a guy to have, and we don't need Kyler there with Jalen Hurts. Now, Will says, do you think Jefferson's going to come back with this L? I'm assuming he will. Now, keep in mind, I've been assuming that he will for quite some time. So, I mean, I'm going to go into week 13 as now I believe the 3rd week in a row where I'm assuming Justin Jefferson's going to play. We'll see. We'll see. But, of course, they have the bye week. I'm sorry, week 14. I apologize. They have the bye week this week. Jay Mills says, recently got Eckler to full PBR league. Jalen, Bijan, Eckler, Allen, Lamb, Olave, McBride. This is a nasty team. So essentially, do we put Kyron in over Olave? Bijan, any suggestions? Trade deadline's the 29th. So yeah, I mean, at this point, you have to go through, you have to play Kyron over Olave. Now, in terms of trading Kyron for potentially Bijan Robinson, I personally would. I would go ahead and make that play. But with that being said, I am also the most biased person that you could possibly ask. Hook'em Lawrence. Yeah, you know he's my guy. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Kyron Williams or Bijan Robinson rest of season? Kyren Williams or Bijan Robinson rest of season. And as we wait for y'all in the chat, Rob says full BBR 9-3, heavy on wide receiver. Should we flip Hall and Dell for Eckler? We have first round bye. So we're looking at Eckler's week 16, 17. I don't know. I mean, Eckler's just not catching the ball as much as he was. This offense isn't as good as you were expecting. Dell does project out to be that mid to high end wide receiver one we'll call it a mid wide receiver one rest of season. I ranked him a wide receiver 7 this week. I don't know. I probably would rather not be trading for Eckler unless we were getting a better price point right now, especially if we're trading away someone exciting like Dell. But let's see. We got Kyren, Bijan, Kyren, Bijan, Kyren, Bijan, Bijan. So it does look like maybe it's 60-40 in favor of Kyren Williams over Bijan Robinson. 60-40 it looks like. Okay. But now, next question coming out from, I believe, Glick says, oh my gosh, Glick says, if the weekly holds, I won the 20,000 on a weekly. My friend, I am so damn happy for you. That is awesome. I'm very jealous at the same time, but that is so damn cool. And I'm pumped for you, my man. Please, at me on Twitter, send it my way. Let me see it if that thing does hold. That is incredible. If y'all don't know, Underdog had a tournament this offseason where essentially you drafted a team, and every week it was just a new league, essentially, with a massive pool of like hundreds of thousands of people. And first place gets $20,000 every single week. Now, I guess Glick won the 20,000 this week. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you, my friend. Raekwon says, I'm 8-4 in first place, 10-team BBR. We have Allen, Brees, JT, CMC, Lamb, Cup, Cooper, Kittle, Kincaid, McLaurin, Dak, Kirk. Would you make this trade? Kincaid, Dak, Cup for Stephon Diggs. So it's a 10-team league. That's not going to matter too much. We have Josh Allen. We don't really need Dak. We have Kittle. We don't really need Kincaid. Cup obviously looks like a bum at this point. We would be getting the Diggs-Allen stack. If this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I think you can go ahead and make this move. I don't necessarily think that we're getting a great price point on him, but I mean, if it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I'm always down to sell the depth for the stud. Angus says, needed 30 for Madison and DJ, must win. What a sweat. Congrats, my friend. I'm assuming they got you there, right? What? DJ Moore okay, yeah, you got there. Because Addison had about 10. DJ Moore got you about 22. That's awesome. Asian Artifact says, DJ Moore or Tank Dell rest of season. It's a good question. Let me go ahead and pull up flockfantasy.com real quick and see what you have in the community rankings. Now, I'm assuming we haven't had enough data points after tonight's game yet to see really an updated value of DJ Moore, but Tank Dell was sitting at 10 going into tonight's game in the wide receiver rankings. And these aren't my rankings. They're your rankings. And DJ Moore was down at 19. I assume DJ Moore jumps Cup, jumps Smith, jumps Ayuk. I'd probably rather have Tank Dell just because he's in a better offense. I'd say I think DJ Moore is the better player. Like, you throw DJ Moore in Houston, I think DJ Moore is probably like a top 3 receiver in fantasy, or damn close to it. Dang Shoot says, opinion on taking a Dynasty. There are no rules I've seen against benching starters. It's easy to play your worst players, get high draft pick. I'm in a few leagues with this controversy. What are your thoughts? So how I handle this in my leagues is essentially if the player is on your taxi squad, it doesn't matter how good they are, you're allowed to bench them. So if like Bijan Robinson's on your taxi squad, you can go ahead and you can leave him on your bench. You do not have to call him up to your active roster. However, if they are on your active roster and you're starting like, say, Tyler Algier over Bijan Robinson, it's clear tanking. I would say first the warning. If they don't get it done with the warning, Then maybe you start taking away draft picks. Like the next week, you take away a third. The week after, you take away a second. So, I mean, it just completely ruins the league for everybody, right? And there's a big difference between trading away all your veteran assets for future picks and then going through and saying, oh, I'm going to start Desmond Ridder over Josh Allen this week because I'm out of the playoffs and I want a higher pick. Colin says, DJ Moore averaging 22 points per game with Fields, and I have more in Dynasty, so I hope Fields stays. Definitely, DJ Moore looks much better with Justin Fields. I am not a big Justin Fields guy, but I will say for a damn fact that DJ Moore just draws a ridiculous amount of targets with Fields in there. But happy for you owning DJ Moore there, my friend. Cheap Herb says, Freiermuth, Kincaid, or Taysom rest of season. I'll rank them Kincaid 1 by a wide margin. Freiermuth 2, then Taysom last. Michael says, who am I starting this week? It's a 10-team BBR, 2 receivers, and a flex. Gibbs, Kyron, Achane, Javonte, Ayuk, Ridley, Sutton, Jefferson on bye, also Baker, Love. Let me go ahead. I have not memorized the matchups. We'll have them memorized by tomorrow, but let me just make sure we know this for a fact who they are playing. But Baker Mayfield right now is going to be going up against Indianapolis. No, I'm sorry. That's week 12. Let's move to week 13. Baker will be going up against Carolina. They're 5.5 point favorites. They have a 21 point implied team total. The Packers have an 18 point implied team total. They're 6.5 point dogs to KC. Love has a tough matchup, lower scoring offense. Let's go ahead and let's play Baker, even if we assume that maybe they run the ball a little bit more given their matchup. And then our running backs, we'll be going with Gibbs, Kyron. Our wide receivers, we're going to go Ayuk, Ridley. And then our flex, should be a very high scoring game in Denver or in Houston for the Denver offense. I think for the flex, we most likely go Achane, but I would like to see the practice reports first. Will says, Dynasty, PBR, Ridley Montgomery, who wins in a deal? I mean, if you're going to go through and look at the Dynasty rankings that you currently have, we'll go with the community rankings on flockfantasy.com. Currently have Ridley at 94 overall. I can't even find David Montgomery here, but there we go. Yeah, Montgomery at 73. Ultimately, I mean, I think they're both kind of in a similar boat, right? If you're looking at what you have with both players, their options for this year, next year, not much beyond that, right? I would say that Calvin Ridley maybe has a little bit more long-term upside in Dynasty, just given the nature of what you have at running back versus wide receiver. Cheeky Opson says, Bears need to trade down to get Harrison. DJ and Harrison would be epic. So as someone who thinks that they should not plan on starting Justin Fields next year, I do think that the trade down that they made to go through and just get the absolute haul from the Panthers, what they did last offseason, even if I'm not a Justin Fields real life fan, I think he's good in fantasy based off rushing upside. Real life, a little bit different. I do think that that price point was kind of ridiculous to sell the number 1 overall pick. I mean, if you are looking at what we have with this class, the hype is significantly more. So if they were to be able to go through and say, sell the number, I don't want to go down that road, but they just have so much firepower based off that deal that they made last year, getting the number 1 overall pick and then really crushing that trade. Wyatt says, Dak, JT, Gibbs, Hill, Olave, likely Jacobs. With a bye, need someone in case Olave doesn't play. Sitting on Stroud for Debo. Debo Downs on the bench. Okay. So you're essentially asking, should we trade Stroud for Debo Samuel in case Olave doesn't play? Downs is our backup option. I'd say no. Honestly, I think that if we were to sell CJ Stroud, we should be getting someone a little bit better, at least in my mind. But Brazy says 9-3, full BBR. Hurts, CMC, Eckler, Dell, Smith, Laporta, Jacobs, Puka, Terry, Moss, Jason, Charbonnet, Spears. Thoughts on the team? Can we drop Spears or Charbonnet? Playoffs are a log. I think it's a very strong team. It's a very well-balanced team as well. My thing is, like, the options of the waiver wire this week are very uninspiring, right? So all I would ask is like, oh, okay, well, who are you going to go and pick up? At least in my mind, I don't necessarily know anybody that's that exciting. And if you look at Charbonnet and Tajee Spears, at least if you were to see an injury to the guy in front of him, then all of a sudden they are appealing. You can go through and start them. So personally, I would just keep the team as is, but maybe you have a player that's really exciting on your waiver wire. I don't know. I just doubt it. Now, Felipe says, trade Chase for Cup. I'd rather have Jamar Chase. Or Chase, Madison, Herbert for Jefferson. We have Allen, Bijan. If that is Khalil Herbert, yes. If you've already clinched the playoffs, this is a strong enough team where I think that we can make that pivot to Justin Jefferson. Because Khalil Herbert is in a spot where it's going to be a three-man committee. Madison's in a spot where it's a horrendous offense, and he's in a committee with Chandler now. And I don't know. Can y'all spam the chat? Maybe I'm wrong here. I'm just assuming that we would all way rather have Jefferson over Chase. Can you spam the chat, Jefferson or Chase? Let me see if there's anybody that's going the Chase side. And as I wait, Buffet says 8-4, 10-team full BBR. We have Fields, Tua, Cook, Gus, H.N. Madison, Tyreek, Lamb, Evans, had Andrews, but now we're starting Taysom. Do we trade Lamb for Kelsey or keep streaming tight ends? Well, first off, my friend, thank you so much for coming out. Second off, I think that if you are looking at this wide receiver room, obviously we have more than enough firepower to go around, but probably if we go ahead and make a play like that, all of a sudden we are just going to be in a spot where we're not super excited about our flex spot, right? At least in my mind, I don't necessarily know if we have enough depth to then be pumped about our flex. So I feel like we'd maybe be fixing one issue while causing another, which I'm fine doing if the value's right. But I don't necessarily know if the value's right. They're trading Lamb for Kelsey. Let me see the volume Kelsey has had as of late. It just seems like Kelsey is not the Travis Kelsey of old, and this is kind of what you would expect from someone who's 34 years old, but yeah, last time we saw him have a 100-yard game, it was December 22nd. It's a 200-yard games this season. I don't know. I would probably rather keep Lamb and stream Titan, especially if you can pick up someone like Frymuth. I mean, you know your streaming options a little bit better than I do, but it is a 10-team league. Now, Will says 10-2, 8-team PBR for the flex. Allen, CMC, Swift, A.J. Brown, Evans, Hawkinson, Mixon, Flowers, Rice, Ferguson, Gainwell, Kyler, Algier, Odell, any trades. I'm assuming that we have the not only playoffs locked up, but maybe even the number one buy spot locked up. So if we have that number one seed locked in, I would say maybe if you wanted to go through and see if we could sell Hawkinson and Kyler and go pivot to like Kelsey, that could be an interesting spot before you have Justin Jefferson coming back here and diluting the target share. And plus we have Josh Allen, so we're never really going to go through and start Kyler anyway. That could be something we look to do. In reality, I mean, obviously there's a reason why we are currently sitting at 10-2. This is a phenomenal team. Now, Luigi says 5-7, 10-team BBR single flex. Stroud, Bijan, Etienne, Dell, Godwin, JT, Kincaid, Lawrence, Eckler, Javonte, Higgins, Kenneth, Watson, Charbonnet. Want a better receiver / Waddle owners open for a trade. Is it worth it, and for who? So we're 5-7. We're not thinking long term. We're thinking about how do we get wins in here right now and how do we make the fantasy football playoffs. I mean, if I'm thinking how do we make the playoffs today, I think you have to sell one of these injured guys. You have to sell Higgins. You have to sell Walker at a loss, package him with Godwin. So if you wanted to sell like T. Higgins and Chris Godwin, especially in a 10-team league with one flex, and pivot over to Jalen Waddle, I think that's something I would for sure do. Waddle's in a great spot this week going up against Washington, and the short term is really what matters there on that 5-7 roster. Now, Abraham says Kupp and Wilson for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I think you go St. Brown, not close. Lamar or Kyler rest of season. I'm going to go Lamar. Lil Boy Blue says, any worry with Kincaid if Knox comes back after the bye? I personally am not worried. I think Kincaid's shown enough where he is going to be the guy. Now, Gabriel coming out saying, 10T BBR 9-3. We have Lamar, Bijan, Kyler, Lamb, Puka, Mixon, McBride, and then on the bench, Higgins, Flowers, Lockett, Spears, Charbonnet, Keaton, Mitchell. Need a quarterback and a defense. Should we drop Higgins and Charbonnet? I would say no. I don't know if we can go through and drop T. Higgins while this offense is going to be horrendous. Higgins like a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL from a talent perspective. Charbonnet is an injury away from, I don't know. I mean, Kenneth Walker is already banked up. He has the 3-down roll. I mean, I know it wasn't great against the 49ers, but that was because it was the 49ers. Obviously, we have to drop two guys. Keaton Mitchell's taking over as the starting running back, but he's still in a 3-man running back by committee. I would probably drop Spears and Reed before I would drop Higgins and Charbonnet. I go Spears and Reed. Brandon says, is Ridley a clear start going 31-22? Calvin Ridley is still averaging about 13.5 points per game. I think Calvin Ridley is still going to be a little bit inconsistent. So I have Ridley ranked as a mid wide receiver 2 this week. Steven says 8-3, 10-team full BBR. We have Hurts, CMC, Brian Robinson, HN, Wilson, Waddle, Sutton, Higgins, Gabe Davis, Kelsey. Should we trade Kelsey for Jefferson, Kmet, and Amari? So Kmet and Amari, especially in a 10-team league, literally mean nothing. 10-team league, I could care less about Cole Kmet and Amari Cooper. And I would much prefer having Travis Kelsey over Justin Jefferson. So no, I'm going to keep Kelsey here. Sonny says, hey Mason, how's it going, bro? We're 10-2. Thanks, thank you, my man. Also, we just traded away Kittle and Amari for Ridley and Laporta. Is this a win or no? Amari to Ridley, upgrade. Kittle to Laporta, upgrade as well. Yes, sir. I think that is an upgrade. I really do like it. Okay. Now, King Recker says, lost by 2 points. What do we do without Allen next week? So we did talk about some potential streamers in the video today. I think that someone that's a very interesting streamer here would be Gardner Minshew. Whenever we checked, he was rostered in like maybe 15% of Yahoo League, something along those lines. I don't exactly remember. But nonetheless, I mean, they do have a very high implied team total this week. And obviously, we've seen Minshew have the volume before. Let me know, and I appreciate it. No, thank you so much, my man. Very well-balanced team. I'd say we have 3 tight ends here, right? So, I mean, if we have McBride, Goddard, and Freiermuth, if you wanted to go through, if you wanted to see if we could sell like Downs and Freiermuth or Waddle and Freiermuth, Metcalf and Freiermuth, essentially one of the receivers with one of the tight ends to get an upgrade at wide receiver that may be a little bit meaningless, but who the hell cares? Really, it's just we're opening up a roster spot here when we have Trey McBride, who we can comfortably rely on starting every single week. That would be the move that we're looking to make. I know it was a very awkward spot last week when we looked at this, and that like you couldn't really get anything for the tight ends. So it's like, yeah, we're rostering 3 of these guys. They have upside, but we can't sell them for anything right now. I think you could maybe sell Frymuth to the Andrews owner for just something. White says, I'm going to say Stroud for Nico Collins. Oh, in terms of a potential trade? Let me pull up the team again. Sorry, my friend. So we have Dak in a quarterback right now. Or are you saying that you're going to trade Stroud for Nico Collins? If that's the case, hell no. We want CJ Stroud. Nico Collins versus Deebo Samuel. If you want to start Nico Collins, I'm fine with that. I'm sorry. I don't really know exactly what you're asking. Kyle says, I'm sorry. Keaton says Kyler or Lawrence this week in a must-win spot. Let me pull back up what we have with the implied team totals here. Okay, so with Jacksonville, currently, they're sitting at 23.25 points, 7.5 point favorites against Cincy. They can probably run the ball in the second half. Kyler's at the bottom of the league at 17.5. I mean, if it's a 6-point passing touchdown format, I think it's going to be relatively easy to go through and take Trevor Lawrence. In a 4-point passing touchdown format where maybe rushing upside matters a little bit more, I wouldn't fault you at all if you wanted to go Kyler. Sir Dredgen says 9-3 because my kicker scores 0 points this week, but I'm still in first place at least. Should we panic on Etienne and Eckler? Lost 2 games in a row now. Not worried about Etienne at all. Etienne just got banged up. Should be fine. If you are going to be looking at Eckler, the receiving volume has lowered. The offense is worse. And yes, I am worried about Austin Eckler. I mean, I think he's still a borderline top 5 RB. It's just much harder to have him as that, like, say, top 3 running back. I don't know. You move him down. He's not a high-end RB1. He's more of a mid RB1. Admire my Moonasol. Always happy to see it. Says we had Fields and DJ versus Hawkinson. Was down 17, won by half a point. That is awesome, my man. Congrats. That's an exciting game, too, then. That's an exciting game. Kevin says, playoff bound, 12 team, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and a flex. Stroud, Etienne, Mixon, Singletary, Tyreek, DKT, Douglas, Dotson, Burrow injury, hurt, and feeling weak at wide receiver 3. Should we trade Tyreek for Adams and Tank Dell? So I understand where you're coming from, right? You have to start 3 wide receivers in this league. That's going to matter a little bit more, but hell to the no. Please, my friend, keep Tyreek Hill. Work the waiver wire over the next few weeks. You are guaranteed to go to the playoffs. Tyreek Hill is averaging like 25.5 points per game right now. Nobody else is coming close here. I mean, yeah, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even consider trading away Tyreek Hill for Adams and Dell, even though Dell looks great. Keaton says, Ridley, Nico, Wilson, Debo, Chase, pick 3 in order. We actually just made our wide receiver rankings for this week, my friend, so we can do this for you right now. So I have Chase, wide receiver 11. Nico, wide receiver 16, and Debo, wide receiver 15. So I'm going to go Nico, Debo, and Chase. Gnarl says 10-team BBR 7-5 after tonight. We have Allen, Bijan, Swift, Devonta, Kirk, Kelsey, Charbonnet, Stevenson, Judy, JSN, Javonte, Ford, Watson, Higgins. Should I send Kelsey for TJ and Kyron to a team tied for first? So obviously, Kyron Williams looks like a running back one. Kyron Williams looks so damn good at this point. I am a little bit worried that you get Justin Jefferson back in and the target volume does go down for TJ Hawkinson. It is a very fair deal. The thing is, we don't really need a running back, especially if Stevenson's increasing his role. Can everybody spam the chat? Would you rather have Kelsey or Hawkinson and Kyron? I'm assuming people are going to go Hawkinson and Kyron, but maybe I'm wrong here. Kelsey or Hawkinson and Kyron, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Michael says 9-3, 12-team Superflex. Baker, Saquon, Kyron, Singletary, Charbonnet, AJ, Nico, Kittle, Kirk, Downs, Flowers, London. Tried selling Saquon for Mahomes and Dobbs. Both trades got rejected. Any trades for the playoffs? Boyle available. Okay, so you're saying you tried selling Saquon for Mahomes straight up, and you tried selling him for Joshua Dobbs straight up. I mean, I'm surprised the Dobbs one was rejected. Not surprised in the slightest that someone did not give you Saquon as a Superflex league for Mahomes. I mean, here, this is a league where if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, we have more than enough wide receiver depth to go around. I don't necessarily know if this is a spot where we're excited to go through and give up a top running back with Singletary. He does look like the RB1 here. They just don't really use these running backs at all, and they're just not efficient rushers in the first place. But if you wanted to go through, if you wanted to sell Saquon and try to trade him for one of those top-end quarterbacks, and a super flex format where clearly we need a QB here, I'm completely fine making that move. The reality of the situation, though, is to get someone to bite on one of those RBs, you're probably going to have to include a wide receiver. And if you're including a receiver, you're probably going to have to include one that people are excited about, like Zay Flowers. Jason says, full BBR, what side would you rather have? Evans, Watson, or Jacobs and Myers? Watson Myers makes no difference. It's Evans versus Jacobs, and honestly, it's just up to you if you need a running back wide receiver. I think it's a very fair deal. Cody says, what do you do with Jamar? I mean, with Jamar, you have to hold because nobody's going to buy. That's the reality of the situation. I thought that he was going to be like Devontae Adams, an alpha wide receiver 1 in a horrendous offense. Well, the offense is worse than what you have in Las Vegas. So it's even worse than I expected, but still, I don't know if you're going to be able to move off of him easily. I probably think you're stuck with him. Cheap Burp says Stroud or Lamar rest of season. 6-point passing touchdown league. You're going to go Stroud relatively easily. 4-point passing touchdown format. If you wanted to stick with Lamar, I'm not going to fault you for it based off rushing upside. You still probably go Stroud though. Now, 416 Hendricks says 7-5, full BBR. We have the Allen Diggs stack. ETN, JT, Dell, Kincaid, Rashad, Puka, Olave, Devonta Singletary. Any trade ideas? Thinking of selling ETN. You're overthinking it. Phenomenal team. Sit on your hands. You're in a great spot. We have the double stack as well with Kincaid at tight end. I understand that ETN hasn't been as good as he previously was, but a big reason in this is he just got banged up this game, right? He was in and out. I think if he plays 100% of the snaps, should be in a much better spot going forward. Okay. Now, Narl says, Urson, Kelsey and any skill positional player for Lamb and Komet. I would probably rather have Lamb there. Obviously, if it's a great skill positional player, maybe go on the Kelsey side, but probably going to go Lamb. Callie Jack says, won the matchup by 0.5 point. Hell yes. Concerned for Eckler. I honestly am concerned for Eckler because, the thing is, he could overcome it. This offense being worse if he had the receiving usage you were expecting. but he's not drawing as many targets out of this backfield as you would assume, especially with the Mike Williams injury. Once Mike Williams went down, I was like, okay, this guy's going to get every target. At least that's what we saw last year. But I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if you look at the running back landscape, if it's a full BBR formats, like how much can we really lower this guy down from? I mean, he's now no longer a high-end RB1 and he's a mid RB1. Stanley says, need playoff players. Trade Chase and Pollard for who? Tyreek, Lamb, St. Brown, Keenan, AJ Brown, if you're looking at wide receivers. Running backs, maybe, I mean, CMC and maybe like JT. This year is after CMC, there's like a massive drop-off at RB. Colin says 12-team BBR, 8-4, single flex. Kyler, Jacob, Swift, Keenan, Chase, Kelsey. Moore, Goff, Montgomery, Chuba, Keaton, Kirk, Jason, likely. Any moves for the playoffs? In terms of trades, no. I would just say that we're probably going to go ahead, probably drop Isaiah Likely and find a high upside guy at either running back or wide receiver if we have Travis Kelsey. I don't really think Likely does anything for us. Cheap Herb says, is it rostering both Dell and Collins? Or should we drop Collins? No. Please roster both Tank Dell and Nico Collins. I mean, both these guys are startable with how good this offense is. AD says, Joshua Dobbs came through Cyber Monday pick'em last pass. Oh, that is funny. Yeah, so Underdog had like a promo earlier today where they slashed like Joshua Dobbs passing yards in half for their pay. That is hilarious. I did not take it. I ran out of time. I went to my phone and then I saw the notification too late. Well, that's awesome. Jay Soisey says 5-7, 18 BBR single flex. Allen, Kyler, JT All, Devin, Connor, Hill, Lamb, Chase, Terry, Downs, McBride, Ingram. Any moves? Would like to move off of Holland, Chase, maybe. The thing is, it's like too late, right? I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, if we can move off of Holland, Chase and go get CMC, duh, but like the reality of the situation is you'd be trading for like Travis Etienne. And if you really wanted to go get Etienne, I mean, you can. Just you're not really going to be getting much at all. Now, I'm Johnny Day says, is Mims and an early second enough to get Diggs? I would rather have Stephon Diggs relatively easily, to be honest. Yeah, give me Diggs. Chris says, PBR need to win out. Hurts, Henry, Brees, Ayuk, Smith, Ingram, Deontay, Lockett, Tajee, Rice, Charbonnet, Aaron Jones. Who should we trade to give me a shot? Okay. We're looking to sell long-term production and get short-term production in here. So the thing is, you essentially have to grab Aaron Jones and see if we can sell him to anybody that would be interested. And get an upgrade in the starting lineup. It's going to be a 2-for-1 deal. You're not going to be able to trade him straight up for anybody. But if you wanted to send like Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones, go get a better running back. Or if you wanted to send, say, Aaron Jones and Devonta Smith and go get a better wide receiver. Fundamentally, that's the move that you're having to look to make if we need to win out. You just need to sell any long-term production for short-term production. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate you. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Dak Prescott special pick of more than less than half a total yard for Thursday night. But real quick, a few more questions. Bubba Eats says, start 1 BBR, Higgins, McBride, Seattle running back, Bugs, or Jags defense. We'll go with the Jags defense. We'll go with the starting running back for Seattle, whoever that may be. GDF says, 11-1, 12-team league. Herbert, Purdy, JT, Kyron, Gibbs, Singletary. Oh, this Diggs, Lamb, Puka, Smith. Just want to thank you. So no, thank you, my man, for being a member of the flock. I mean, that's phenomenal. A lot of those players I was not high enough, nearly high enough on. And Chris Cross says, would you trade Cup for Thielen and Jones? Probably not. I mean, I think all those players have an incredibly low floor, but maybe Cup has high. I don't know. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope you get to see you out with a live stream tomorrow night.